ideology. They promote what we call an ideology of difference. That is to say, you are different from me. I have no business with you unless you submit to me. You live your life according to my dictates, to my worldview. You live my life according to my interpretation of the spiritual text, or you suffer the consequences of not doing so. Initially, it appeared as if it was anti-Christian, and we realized it was a strategic move, so that the Muslims would not feel threatened by Boko Haram. So they were targeting mostly non-Muslims. By the time Yaradua came up and decided that he was going to protect the Islamists, the Boko Haramists, some things took place that led to the execution, really, literally, of Mohammed Yusuf. We all know this. And then they launched their armed rebellion, insurgency, they call it. They declared that they were going to set up a theocratic, Islamic theocratic state. Later on, they announced their affiliation to ISIS. Of course, they have a few factions. One of them, the mainstream Boko Haram. The other one, Islamic State, West Africa Province. So, our people began to be attacked, to be driven out of their communities, to be discriminated against, to be killed. Our women were raped, abducted, forcibly married, turned into sexual slaves. And they were doing this. And the Nigerian state apparently did not. There were all sorts of opposition to even tackling those guys that were obviously Islamist terrorists. We have, this sound is going to affect that generator there, that pumping machine. Please, can somebody ask them to put it up? Yes. 20 minutes. We decided to do a research. What was going on with the ethnic minority nationalities in northern Nigeria? By 2013, after 2011, was presidential election violence, which was in 10 northern states. A new group of terrorists came up. They started calling them hard men. Then they graduated to hard men militia. By the time that the International Criminal Court sent a delegation of lawyers from outside Nigeria in 2016 to look at the kind of violence that was taking place in the military, not just Northeast now. They decided to use Muslim Fulani herdsmen. By 2020, some of the experts were describing them as Fulani ethno-nationalist militias. Now, we did a study and we asked ourselves questions. at the receiving end of the violence. That's number one. Number two, considering the language that was being used, they would go into a community in the dead of night, usually after 12 midnight. They will go and kill the children, kill the women, kill everybody, burn down the community, ransack it, sack it. In order to hide the massacres, the genocide. They now started saying that Nigeria was experiencing harder farmers' conflict. That is to say that our farmers were pitched against herdsmen. Nobody wanted to say that the herdsmen were predominantly Fulani. Nobody wanted to say that the victims of the Fulani herdsmen attacks were largely non-Muslim. Later on, even those of our people who were Muslim, who had thought that they were going to be free, they became victims because what they wanted had nothing to do with religion. Religion was just a means for them to mobilize and gain support and gain partners. Now, the academics came up with all sorts of things, like the religious crisis, ethnic crisis. In other words, it was as if our own diversity was the cause of this problem of violence in Nigeria. We decided that it was important for us to try and understand and let our people know the mere fact how many languages are represented in this hall today. So many languages, is that not so? So many languages. Are we fighting here? Are we fighting here? Are we in conflict here? So, the mere fact that I speak a different language from you, is that a sufficient reason for me and you to be a loggerhead and to fight? Right? Now, we have Muslims, we have Christians, we have African traditional religious adherents. The mere fact that you go to the mosque and I go to the church and somebody else goes to the shrine, is that sufficient reason for us to be in conflict to the point of killing ourselves? Are you following me? We have to explain these things to ourselves. So, what is this diversity? Professor Best was talking about it. And we can summarize it. Nigeria, honestly, you find diversity is often equated with plurality, several languages, ethnic groups, religious groups, cultural groups, as well as variations in political system, social classes, economic formation. When you read the UNESCO World Report for 2009, it's online. Download it. It's a large document, but it is one of the richest you will get. If you have a pen, note it down. UNESCO World Report 2009, investing in diversity management and intercultural dialogue. Investing in diversity management and intercultural dialogue. We are very educated people. So it will be good for you to have some of these things. You can also go online and download UNESCO Declaration on Cultural Diversity. UNESCO Declaration on Cultural Diversity. It's a United Nations Declaration on Cultural Diversity. In this document, you will see that they are based on all of them are based on United Nations documents. From the Convention on the right on economic and social rights to the Convention of Political and Cultural Rights to the Declaration on the Rights of Minorities. We have been giving these documents at Conaecda conference. They are still available. To the very important declaration on the right of indigenous peoples and the African Charter on human and people's rights. You find, as Professor Ben was trying to say, if you look at the Nigerian Constitution, it says there, it is the duty of the Nigerian state to ensure that our culture, every culture in Nigeria is preserved, is developed, is promoted, because we should have unity in diversity. Unity in diversity is the official motto of the United Nations. That's the official motto of the United Nations. So, do we have any rights as minorities? Yes. Those rights are in the United Nations document. Do we have religious rights? Yes. Do we have cultural rights? Yes. Do we have rights as ethnic groups or ethnic minorities? Yes. We have them. They are defined in the international instruments, legal instruments, binding. You know, Nigeria was one of the last countries to sign the United Nations Declaration on Indigenous Peoples, because the majority ethnic groups in Nigeria didn't want to sign that because they were in power. They didn't want to sign it. And some people have been arguing that there are no indigenes in Nigeria. So when we came up with the name, because some people will migrate to Mangu as a town, or they will migrate to Magabu land, and they will wake up today, tomorrow, and say they are leaving. And there will be no argument as to whether they are indigenous or not. So, when Conaecda was being formed, we said we are a conference of autochthonous ethnic nationalities, and our organizations are the members, not the individuals. Autochthons are the original owners of the land. The land bears your ethnic group's name. Birom land, Idoma land, Atakara land, and so on. But if you check, there is Hausa land, of course. But have you ever heard of Fulani land? Have you? No, they are not indigenous to Nigeria. They came from Senegambia. By 1400, maybe a few of them were allowed to enter the photo. At the time, we had many empires and kingdoms that flourished in this area. There is evidence that we, the autochthons, the descendants of the no culture that cut across central middle Nigeria. This area has been inhabited from archaeological evidence since 39,000 years now. And the no culture flourished from 1750 BC, 1750 BC. At the time that Abraham and Co were wandering in the desert without a homeland, we already had a Nok civilization flourishing in this place. Our people were already here. But some people will come up and say, because they are more in number than we are, because the colonialists imposed them on us, they have more rights to our land than we, the original inhabitants of the land. And because they were in power, they have economic power, they have political power. Their language is a predatory language. Languages that eat other languages. Outside each of our language. That is English is a predatory language. Arabic. These are the predatory languages. Spanish. They are the language of imperialism and colonization and control. Their language will lose. So, what are the official languages in Nigeria? English, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. That also. Then when you move away from there, you get Fulfulde, you get Kanuri, and you don't get others. So they are pretending that we don't exist. When it comes to the north, they want to give the impression that the north is the land of the Hausa and Fulani. And whatever the Hausa and the Fulani and the Kanuri now decide, we must follow suit. Their interests are our interests. That is their own definition of diversity. But the United Nations do not say so. Listen to the United Nations. Cultural diversity has become a major social concern because of the variety of social codes within and between societies. It is increasingly clear that lifestyles, social representation, value systems, codes of conduct, social relations, interpersonal relations between the generations, between men and women, the linguistic forms, our languages, the cognitive processes, the learning processes, artistic expression, notions of public and private space, urban and rural environment, forms of learning and expression, mode of communication, and even systems of thought. These are all aspects of diversity. And God did not make a mistake. Although you go to the Bible, you hear the story of the Babel, the Tower of Babel. Well, I mean, that is a biblical explanation of languages. But some of our languages are even older than people. Yes. 2000 before BC, we didn't really have something called him the way we have it. Because languages change and evolve. Even your language has been changing. Your mode of dress has been changing. The way you think has changed. Television is affecting us. Computers are affecting us. Everything is changing. So with all these changes, what is the fate of our people? How are we addressing these rapid changes that are changing everything in Nigeria? What of all these groups that are determined to impose themselves on us, drive us away from our land, take over our land, and declare that we don't exist? We are carrying out research. We know the number of communities that were displaced in Nasarawa. We know the number of communities and their names that were displaced in Kaduna, in Plateau, in Gombe, and some other places. Although, of course, when they started with Gombe, the Gombe people fought back several decades, about 2-3 decades ago. They fought back. But they are now doing it through the government of Gombe State. Just like M5 became the main promoter of the ideology of difference and the suppression of diversity and the suppression of our traditional institutions because it is a government of Islamists. You have M5. They'll do Muslim together in Kaduna. They have now taken Muslim ticket to the national level and to hell with anybody else. Those are the kinds of issues we are confronting. Now, we know that attempts have been made to manage diversity. Now, culture is very central. We have our cultures. We're entitled to preserve and promote our culture. Languages are the embodiment of our cultures, our philosophies, our worldviews, our ideas. If you lose your language, you've lost your identity. A Hausa man will never accept you as a Hausa person, even if you convert to Islam and you pretend you are a Hausa man. They know you are not. That is why we tell our Muslim brothers, come, let's move together. That's why when you go to the Gala land, you can't talk this nonsense and they will not listen. Because in the same house you find Christians, Muslims, and traditional religious worshippers. That's diversity. Cultural diversity can only be preserved by observance and adherence to human rights. It's your right to speak your language. It's the right of your children to be taught in their mother tongue. You understand? It is all there in the United Nations document. And our people a lot of our people don't know that it is a right. And that you can claim that right. So, even amongst ourselves, do we understand? The next issue, therefore, is this. How are we going to address our problems? Our existential threats? The assault on our people, our cultures. The Europeans came, the British came, and they categorized us into cultures. And some of them, they called us advanced pagans, primitive pagans, backward pagans. The Fulanis were the most advanced civilized people. The Hausa Muslims were advanced natives. The Hausa non-Muslims were natives, some of them primitive natives. Some of us backward natives. And they categorized us like that. And then they imposed the so-called advanced races on us. And when they were going, they handed over government to these people. And today, our people are still struggling to have our chieftaincies restored, our traditional systems restored, our dignity restored. We are still claiming, we are still fighting to claim this. So, We had to establish a knowledge base. You cannot do advocacy. You cannot do policy. You cannot devise a strategy. You cannot develop a plan without concrete information. So we did a lot of research, step by step, community by community, and we collected information. We started documenting the number of ethnic groups in Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi. You'll be shocked by that. There are 70-something ethnic groups in Bauchi state. In Nasarawa, you'll be shocked. Plateau here. There was a debate as to whether there were 52 or 56 ethnic groups in Plateau. Kaduna, there's a debate as to whether there are 56 or 60 ethnic groups in Kaduna. Niger, Kebbi. When we estimated at the Kebbi percent, you didn't count all of us. In southern Kebbi, there are 19 indigenous ethnic groups in southern Kebbi. When you add the Hausa and the Fulani and some other migrant groups, you will get about 22 ethnic groups in southern Kebbi. So we wanted to know who our people are. If you don't know yourself, that was our first strategy in Conaecda. Identify our people. Where are they? What is happening to them? What are their conditions? What are their political conditions, economic conditions, the conditions of their culture? We went into research to find these out. Then we asked ourselves some questions. As individual tiny ethnic groups, can we survive alone? No. The question is simply no. But if we came together, we have a much better chance, not just of surviving, but developing and thriving. So that was the next stage, build us an organization. So we started with Community Development Association. That is why Conaecda ends with a CDA, Community Development Association. That's CDA at the end of Conaecda. We have socio-cultural organizations. All our communities are organized. So bring together the organization. It is not a joke. It is not, in fact, it is one of the most difficult things because our people in the middle belt and central Nigeria are divided. We have allowed ourselves to be divided by religion. And these are foreign religions, like Professor Kuraki, a reverend, the most senior reverend in the Ekwa Church, the former general secretary of Ekwa, will tell anybody that this Islam and Christianity are foreign religions. And we took them. Most of us don't even really follow them. And so the kind of discipline we used to have under the traditional system, we've lost. The worst case was that all our traditional medicine that came from the roots, trees, grasses, shrubs, vegetation, minerals that God Himself created. Some people came and condemned it and said it was kitchen. Even the way we used to farm, the things we used to farm, they condemned them. We in Kaduna State, if we want to buy Rizga, we now have to come to Plateau. It used to be cultivated by almost every family in Southern Kaduna. They don't cultivate it again. we came up with the idea of cultural Olympia. Organized around Kwararafa heritage. Our Kwararafa heritage. One of the most fearsome empires that the Hausa state were shaking. Kwararafa according to be scrambling and shaking and shaking. They even deny our history. One professor from England, Professor Morelas, has done research from Niger right across southern Kaduna, right across up to Kaduna area. There was a big state, they call it Kankuma. And that Kankuma Federation collapsed and died because of the rise of Zeto. But the Zeto people would not acknowledge and agree that there was Kakuma. So when these foreign professors came and were writing about it, they were fighting in APU. It is only now that we realize why our professors of history in APU cancelled school final year projects in history department and replaced it with long history. When they introduce it, they will now ask you to go and write the history of jihad in your community. Even when the jihadists didn't go there, even when they went there and they were defeated, you must go and write jihad. It is part of the educational system, it's part of the diversity, and that is one of the things you have to address. We have to write, we have to research and write our history. Because the Nigerian state, it's only this year that they reinstated the teaching of history in secondary. And it's not even in every school that they have the history teachers. Why would they stop you from learning your history? So that you don't know about the rich cultural heritage. You become somebody else. You forget your roots. So, again, as you will see in the secretariat program, we came up with the Conaecda Historical Project. We came up with the Conaecda Historical Project. Let's investigate our history. Let us publish our history. Let us teach our children our history. Then, what about languages that are dying? And we found that we, the elites, almost all of you here are elites. Their children start learning English from the age of 2, when they go to kindergarten, to nursery school, to primary school, that's all. So your children are more proficient in English. And invariably, because we're in northern Nigeria, even if they don't learn Hausa in their home, they'll learn it outside. You understand? So they now started the campaign. When they come for census, they will ask you how many languages you speak. They used to ask, what is your tribe? You will not put Hausa as your tribe. But now they now change to write how many languages do you speak. If you put Hausa there, the computer has been programmed to count you as a Hausa person. Yes, it has already been done. So when they come for census, and you start writing your languages and you put Hausa inside those languages, like Hausa person. And so this is one of the things we have to educate our people about the danger of feeling informed by the government of Nigeria and putting Hausa as your language or as a language that you speak. The computer has already been programmed like Hausa speaking person. And the Hausa speaking persons are Hausa. You know, one of the most dangerous things we discovered in our research in Conaecda. There is a Fulani organization, Chigari Foundation. And Chigari Foundation is based in Bombay and Bauchi. It is run by Fulani. They started, I'm sure Dr. Agwon would know, they started this, that they were doing livestock settlement identification. It's state by state. They have a book listing so-called settlements. We got the Kaduna one because they were keeping it under lock and key. But we got the Kaduna one. 2 weeks ago, or no, a month and a half ago, some of our people, our big people in Southern Kaduna, when I showed them that one, in their own word, you know, we have local government and we have wards. In their own words, they discovered from that listing that there were more Fulani villages than their own indigenous villages. And that those villages don't exist, doesn't matter. So when they were rushing for Buhari to do census before he handed over, some elders called us and we went home and took us into the bush. And in every forest, you see a bar hanging. In every forest, we saw bars hanging. So we began to inquire. Those bars represented a house for the national census. Each bar on that tree, on any tree there, represented a bar, a house, a minimum of 500 people. Yes, in our forest, in our backyards. And if they had done that census, there would be more Fulanis now in Nigeria than any other ethnic group in the federal government. It is monumental fraud driven by government. So everybody is Fulani. We are no longer available. We no longer exist. No more diversity. So they took over your land. It's Fulani land. So we have these issues that we were trying to understand. We then said, okay, next. Yeah, the entire governance structure in Nigeria, the entire governance structure is skewed against the ethnic minorities. The Solomon last came and did their emancipation. There is Ishaku came and did his own emancipation in Taraba, and there was crisis. Some of our people were arrested and incarcerated, including Conaecda leaders who were arrested, and where they were, we never could trace them. Because they didn't want the Mumuye and all the other ethnic groups of Taraba to be known to exist. Only Fulanis are in Taraba. Are you following where we are going? Now, let's go on. Yes, we have a constitution. Yes, we have states. Yes, we have local governments. Yes, we have chiefdoms. Yes, we have districts. But then, the Islamists came, where there were kingdoms, changed their names. Where there were districts, they collapsed them. Where there were village areas, village heads, they collapsed them. And then they began to create evidence where there were none. It's deliberate. If you go to Nasarawa State, our conference president state, before Abdullahi Adamu came as governor, 80% of traditional rulers in Nasarawa State were non-Muslims. By the time applied at the moon level, 70% of traditional rulers in Nasarawa State were Muslims. And it was a deliberate policy of the state government that has continued. Almakura came and created more than 60 chiefdoms. So, and he would go wherever he found Wandara, he would create a Wandara chiefdom there, even if they are just one village, and make them a first-class chief, so that they become the chairman of the local government chieftaincy council. So they were building structures for us to fight each other. So what are we going to do? We took a decision in Conaecda. We are going to fight to reclaim all our traditional institutions. Those who had their chieftaincies before the British came, who had their kingdoms, even those who didn't even have a centralized system of chiefs, but had councils of elders. We want them to all be revived and they get their independence. Because the United Nations said all ethnic nationalities have a right to self-determination. So we have a program in Conaecda for winning back our identities and for claiming it based on the right to self-determination. Nobody is doing you a favor. You were there before Nigeria. Nigeria came into existence as we are in 1914 after the amalgamation. The British declared northern provinces of Nigeria, northern protectorate in 1900, and they had to fight wars amongst our people up to 1924 in certain cases, and even in certain cases, like my African brother here, up to 1934, before they subdued them. We have the documents. We went out of there to get the documents. The Alago, the Ebon, the Magaku, the Taro, the Tula. You name them. Our people are reviving their history in order to assert our independence, understand our traditions, and then we claim them. Now, if somebody wants to deal with you, doesn't give you space in the political arena, you won't get space in the political arena. He wants to deal with you. You have no political power. And we realize that the big regions, this is not better, that the big regions, we were fighting for the Middle region, Sardona and the British polluted. We have the documents of the pollution. Province by province, what they were doing in Ilorin province, in Niger province, Zaria province, in Adamawa province, in Sardona province, in Gombe, in Bauchi province, what they were doing from province to province to abort the creation of the Middle Belt region. Because when the report was written and they saw the map of the Middle Belt, it was the largest region in Nigeria. These Hausa people, these Hausa Fulani rulers realized that if the Middle Belt people were no longer part of the North, they have lost their bargaining chip. They will go back there, they will say they are the rulers, they are the largest region, they are the biggest in population, they have the largest land area, and so they must help the federal government, they must have more ministers, they must have more ambassadors, they must have more permanent secretaries, and everything else. and North became synonymous with Hausa Fulani. So we began to advocate for restructuring of Nigeria for the preservation of the diversity of its people. Not only that, restructuring of Nigeria in order to claim the rights of the minorities. So we began to work, we began to draft, we looked everywhere, we were digging up documents. And we came up with one document, fantastic document. Even the agreement of 1962, which came in the form of the white paper of the government of Northern Nigeria, which was revised in 1963 and released again in 1964. We got them. We took them to the National Constitutional Conference and we delivered them. And Professor Toraki, who was a member of the conference, 500 copies were made. And these guys realized we had them beaten. We got it all. We succeeded out of 9 states to be created in the northern states. 7 of them are minorities. And by the time Katakum would have been taken out of Bauchi State, Bauchi State will now become a state of minority ethnic groups. So they went back, fight against it to make sure that it was not implemented. That the conference, and we still stand by the 2014 conference on the creation of states, the creation of local government, the creation of additional electoral wards, the creation of district councils. You know, when I was a young historian, I was feeling on top of the world. I went to the archives, 1982 for my master, and I saw election in my village, the Morwa Council, Morwa District Council. We had 2. Bondom had 2. All the other village areas had 1. And it was by election. But they no longer exist because the military came and killed them. They started a process of centralization, excessive centralization. We don't have elected district councils any longer. And in this latest research we are doing, we were able to discover the operating manual of the district council. And they are by far advanced than what is happening in the local government. They have taken us backward, actually. They took us backward. So we are fighting for the restructuring of Nigeria because when they create a local government for us, we're out of their control. When they create a state for us, we're out of their control. When they give you, you know, there are been ethnic groups, they are only found in one village. You know that if you come to Kogu, local government in Kaduna State, it's not even one of the largest local governments, but they have 18 ethnic groups. Some of them are just in one village. So when everybody came and canceled those villages, it means that those ethnic groups have lost the right to elect their traditional rulers. You see what is going on. So restructuring is absolutely important for the preservation and the development and the promotion of our diversity. We therefore committed ourselves to the pursuit of the restructuring of Nigeria. And these other people who want to become oppressors forever,
They are opposed to the restructuring of Nigeria. That was why the APC committee that Erufai chaired said we should go back to the regions as at 1963. That is, they were even ready to concede Midwest region. So, and we know that if we in the North are part of just one region, not in our own state, even as presently concerned, we are finished. We are finished. We are back to worse than under the colonial system. So we decided, therefore, we must commit ourselves to restructure. Now, let's talk about our darling program, the Indigenous Languages Program. We decided that since our identity is coterminous with our languages, we must do everything to make sure that our languages are done.
So we started the Indigenous Languages Program for the preservation, development, the promotion of our indigenous languages. We looked at what has been done. Some people thought that Bible translation is the same as preservation of their language. It's not true. Because all the translations of the Bible we found were not even properly done. They don't even represent their languages. They don't teach our languages in school. We don't read in our languages. The Chinese study in Chinese. The Japanese study in Japanese. The Koreans study in Korean. But they study physics, chemistry, nuclear physics. It is so important. It is so important. You can't imagine. So one of the things we did was to begin to say, okay, we don't have the resources for some of these things. Are there people that can partner with us? So we began to build partnerships. That was why this SIF, Summer Institute of Linguistics Nigeria, began to become our partners. They are technical partners. They are financial partners. They are helping us, they are training us, we are learning a lot of things. Some of our staff are being trained, they are becoming experts. The Linguistics Association of Nigeria became our partner, starting with the University of Georgia. And when you go to Benue State, and in fact, our language council and our language boards, some of the linguists have signed on and become partners. So, one of the things we also learned was to do what we call community vulnerability assessment. It's a very important thing. It came from climate change vulnerability assessment, and it now became applied to security, insecurity, conflict, violence. Then we say, so how are we going to survive it? Then we now came up, as we continue to do the research, we came across a process called community asset evaluation. And we found very interesting literature on it with hands-on practical experiences about people who have lost their languages and revived them in America. Lost Indian languages in America were revived and written. And we kept on digging and we realized that Hebrew died as a language, but they revived it and it is now the national language of Israel. Nobody was speaking Hebrew before. After they were scattered, it died. So if a language has died and it can be revived, and you know we historians, we don't rest while we start pursuing things. we have now discovered there is something called Proto-Bantu. The original origins of our language. Some linguists, they call them, there is a branch of historical linguistics, they call lexico-statistics or chrono, what do they call it? Lexico-statistics. They were able to trace back when Yoruba and Igala were one language, 6,000 years ago. When Idoma and Yoruba were one language, so many thousand years ago. When the Mambila languages were the same as the languages in Plateau, more than 5,000 years ago. We kept on going back until they found out there's something called Proto-Bantu language, the root of our roots. We're getting there. If they can revive and reconstruct a language that seems to become the common language of 5,000 years ago, can we not preserve the ones we have now? Can we? We can. We can, like Obama says. We can because we dare. So, the preservation of our languages is one of our key programs. But one of the issues is our economic disempowerment. So if somebody wants to deal with you, it takes about right? When you have no land, do you have any place to have? No? When they drive you out of your land, do you own it? So they decided they were going to use terrorism to drive us off our land. We started crying. We started holding press conferences. We started doing press releases. We started doing all sorts of things. Traveling, consulting, doing all sorts of things. And we did research. We went outside this country. We were recognized as experts and taken outside Nigeria to go and consult on these things called crisis and conflict of the world. Came back. And we started consulting amongst ourselves. The advisory council, the inner caucuses of Conaecda, and we kept up CWAS, community-based early warning and early response system. CWAS. We have platforms of WhatsApp there. If you are not part of the CWAS platform, please, if you are a joining member of our network, you should be there. But one of the things we have discovered is that our people are so wise. They will go and introduce non-Conaecda communities and put them on our network. One of the things that we decided, look, we should do this. If we don't survive, we cannot even do all the things we have been talking. Can we? If we are annihilated, removed, we no longer exist. So we came up with the early warning, early response, community-based early warning and early response. Now, that community-based early warning and early response system is an offshoot of our CIP, the Community Intervention Program that we developed in order to keep our people alive. The KB people, they are some of the best examples we have. The Bureau has learned, other people have learned how to survive and continue and reclaim our land. And Conaecda therefore took a resolution Who makes money from the Irish potatoes that our people were producing on the planet? The fruits that our people were producing in Benue and Nasarawa. Who are the people making the money? The yam that come from Benue, Taraba, Nasarawa, and Niger and Southern Kingdom. Who were the people that were making the money? It is not our people. It's not. So what are we going to do about it? So we came up with the idea, okay, let us float a company. Then we got into trouble. Our partners were trying to play truth loose. We understood it and followed them carefully. We understood it and decided, okay, you will become our trading partners, but we will be independent. Let's trade together as independents, not we working for you. Then we started building a company called New Trends. And we are encouraging our individuals and our communities to invest in that project. Then we came up and said, okay, when Buhari came, Buhari decided he took out 97 billion naira and said he was keeping aside that money for Fulanis to set up Ruga and their livestock businesses. If you Google it, it is still there online. So what did we do? Let us start the process of building cooperatives. Because their own government in Arewa, they set out to establish cooperatives, village by village by village in our land. It is in the middle belt you don't find this network of cooperatives. So Conaecda now started the process of local. If we must survive economically, our people must learn business. Our people must learn to make money. Our people must learn not to depend on government employment and salary. We must be the Jews of Nigeria. In order for you to be strong, you also politically strong, you must be economically strong. In Nigeria, it is only the multimillionaires that go to the National Assembly or something like that. It is they who become president. If you are not a multimillionaire, you will not get it, or unless they sponsor you. And then part of our program was to say, okay, let us understand, how is it that our politicians appear to be incapable of really being themselves? There must be underlings, subordinates. And so we began to study the phenomenon of clientelism in northern Nigeria, how they will co-opt our people, selective recruitment of our elites, people that will agree to be subservient to them. It is they that will give them contracts. It is they that will give them appointments. It is they that will try to get them to become Muslims so that they can marry their daughters and be integrated into the oligarchy. This is the complex structures of clientelism that are now being built to the point where our own people will now say they are not really built. Go to Nasarawa, the very center of the middle belt. So people will tell you they are not really built. They speak their language. When they open their mouth to speak Hausa, you know they are not Hausa. Now Hausa is even the Canadians, but they are not really built. And so we have to understand the mentality of clientelism, the mentality of accepting to be a subordinate and not be an independent. And then one of our brothers asked us a question in Nasarawa. He said, Dr. Conard. I said, Dr. Conard. I said, yes, I have. How come that our people that didn't go to primary school,
They didn't go to secondary school. They didn't go to university. They had no degrees at all. They were able to resist the jihadists. They were able to maintain their independence. And we, with our degrees, we are engineers, we are this, we are that, and we are so afraid and timid. We succumb to become underling. And this is a more complex problem. And therefore, this is an issue that we must debate and discuss in Conaecda. The last thing I'll tell you is an emerging trend. When you set up an organization, people see it as an opportunity for them to promote themselves. A lot of people who become CDA leaders think it is a stepping stone to something else. Correct? Correct? A lot of people who are leaders of sociocultural organizations see it as a stepping stone to something else. To get political, to get ahead politically, to get located where you will get it. And so when they come to your organization, you link them up, you go and turn around, they are speaking for themselves. They are no longer speaking for Conaecda, they are no longer speaking for their community, they are no longer speaking even for their ethnic group. They are for themselves, while they are posing as if they are for their people. And this is one of the biggest problems. What do they want? Kaya. They want things of the world. And because of that attitude, because of because they imbibe the Bangida's philosophy, get money, no matter what it takes, sell anything you have and make money. So even sell your conscience, sell your mother, sell your people, sell everything and make money. Betray your people, make money, become a client. And so, honestly, let me tell you, if you don't confront these issues, where are you going? I asked a professor, I said, Professor, he said, sir, you are a professor now. He said, yes, sir. Can you get a course in the university, hire a professor? He said, no. So why are you afraid to speak and take a stand over issues? Are you looking for further promotion? I love. What is he looking for? Maybe he is hoping, maybe he's hoping somebody will look at him and give him an appointment somewhere. Special advisor, special assistant. So we build organizations, politicians come and pick the people, give them appointments and turn them against the organization. We have experienced this in Conaecda. And so these are some of the issues that are happening. You are working for other people that are doing what you are doing. But as Professor Gayabe stated here today, you must take a decision. If you take a decision to fight and struggle for the emancipation of your people, for yourself, and so on, nobody can stop you. They will try it and fail. That's why, as a professor, you will tell them, when people have already taken a decision to struggle, don't oppose them because you only make them struggle more. If you are afraid to stand up for your people, why are you in this world? To do what? You find somebody that is already 70 years, 10. He is afraid to speak. What is he looking for? Have you ever seen a mother? A mother, simply because the house is on fire, she will abandon her children and run out on her own. Have you ever heard that? Mothers will not do that.
They will not do that. Say, I completely. They will rather die in the children than abandon them. Hey, I'm telling you this. So these are the issues. So I leave you with these thoughts. We have had our experiences in managing diversity amongst us. We have seen how the Nigerians did. Incidentally, there is no single policy document on management of diversity in Nigeria. Yes, there is constitution. Yes, we have the greatest. Yes, this and that. But we don't have a coherent policy on multiculturalism, plurinationality, multi-ethnicity. No, we don't. We don't have a policy like that in Nigeria. And so everything that has happened in terms of structural changes, the minorities have had to struggle for it because their very survival and progress depend on these restructuring. And so, I want to thank you for listening. But I hope that you have taken notice. We're going to discuss these things later and take decisions on some of the things we have already done and we are going to do and we are going to continue because our very survival depends on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Boland. I hope we listen very carefully. And that has been the journey for the past 10 years. A lot of questions were asked earlier in the morning. I think this has addressed some of the questions. Now you know where we're coming from, where we are, and where we're going. So we call on all of us to join the training so that we can together move ahead. It's not easy, I must say. It's not easy at all, especially when it has to do with sacrifice. It's commitment. That you are here is commitment. It's sacrificial. Some will not come until they hear what they will get. Isn't it? But I believe that when we come this way, we get to hear things, we make friends, we understand things from other perspectives, other than the one we knew before. And it helps us to probably take better decisions. I'm sure the young ones here are ready. Tomorrow you will not ask the elders, what are these people doing? It's not as if nothing has been done, but the challenges are enormous. And we count on you too. They come with, sweet talk, let me put it this way. And most of the youth are carried away. I remember when we were struggling in Nasra, those that were getting little from the sitting government, they were all, up to this day as I'm talking, they don't allow their children to do the talking, they send our own to do the bad talk for them. Maybe because of a small, whatever they give them, I don't know. But they use our own people. Challenge us, and our own youth mostly. The youth that can just look at you and say anything without minding whether you are a senior or whether you are whatever. In fact, I know one that is a permanent secretary today, simply because he could stand and abuse some elders in his community. and he was promoted. He was first appointed as the general manager of the radio and television house. Before now, he was converted and made a pharmacist because they saw him as a hero. He could talk to his elders anyhow. Once again, Dr. Bonald, thank you for this elaborate explanation. Now, I think we will take a few minutes to maybe one or two people have something to say. Yeah, I've seen your hand, Conaecda. Wow, this is serious. Again, why is the second microphone? Yeah, we are going to limit the time this time, just 30 minutes. So please straight to your point. Where is the second microphone? One of you, can you help us? Any of the youth, please? You are making contribution. Straight to the point, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Conference President. The Speaker, we thank you for the elaborate lecture on what was in the morning. You have expanded the scope. Now, my concern is political power and economic power. They go hand in hand. And the foundation laid for our people is a faulty one, because I don't see the miracle, or I don't see the magic we want to play to emancipate ourselves from these two fronts: economic power and political power. Now, when you look at our friends from the other side of the debate, they use political power to emancipate themselves economically. Now, and they have so much guard this political power, and they don't want to give us an opening. I don't know how we want to overcome this scenario in order to, because without the political power, you cannot be emancipated economically. You can only try to emancipate yourself economically, and they like, they use political power to break you down, even when you want to break people. So I don't know what we can do as a community to wriggle ourselves out of these two powers that have been denied us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Noted.
Good evening, it is starting on the existing project. Thank you, sir, for your presentation. My name is Ogo Adakole Chris. Ogo Igubed. Ogo Adakole Chris of the Akuya indigenous. I appreciate your presentation, and so far the milestone Conaecda has gone through. I may ask a question, and I'll also have a request. On the history and tradition that you're able to dig out, especially concerning the district councils, don't you think if some of these things are made available to the CDAs for onward deliberation with their traditional council, it will go a long way? Number two, we're all aware that if you go to our various markets, the farmers will bring these things to the markets. Especially, I give an example of building material markets here. People bring in their potatoes, cabbage, and other things. They can't sell except they go through somebody. And who are these people? Non-farmers, non-indigenous. How do we overcome them? We have the products, but we can't sell. Even when the buyers want to buy through us. The third one is your efforts in getting the history and tradition of our indigenous languages or indigenous communities. And thank God, history is back to secondary schools. I think it will be appreciated if those of you, the professors in history and other doctrine personnel, come up with a book that Conaecda and other ethnic communities will fight for, that these books are used as textbooks. If you don't know your roots, you don't know where you are going. And then finally, like I said earlier, they use our own people to destroy us. When you make your plans and it's late, which it happens. Some years ago in Myanmar, they were having meetings, security meetings, the indigenous. And there was a call right at the meeting center. As a result of phone, there was a call from the leader of the meeting, Ava, to the chairman of the meeting, that they have been meeting against them. These are betrayers. And we have them. They sponsor them to come up. How do we enable our communities to fight these people so that they don't become one or they don't stand for us? Well, thank God, National State has started it. And may God be with Ambabudi, or what is that his Mbagode, or what is that his name, that he'll go back to that seat. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Chigaye Takagi from Gombe. I want to say Ghana. Because I'm becoming emotional on certain things that happen. Number one is an appeal to our Muslim brothers. So many of them are being used against us. Let me say something something that happens 30 years ago during our undergraduate program. We were under Bauchi State then. One of my very close friends, presently is a professor, a former vice chancellor, one of the newly created universities. He was contesting the seat of MUBAS, National Union of Bauchi State Students, as the Secretary General. Being a Muslim, they have 3 zones: Gombe zone, Bauchi zone, Katagum zone. So if you come out, you liaise with the zones. Okay, I will produce a president, you produce a secretary. So he came out looking for secretary. The most unfortunate thing is, despite the fact that he's a Muslim, the Fulani inside Gombe, they gathered. They asked, we learned that the candidate for the other candidate is from Gombe. The other one says he's not from Gombe, he's from Southern Gombe. From Southern Gombe. Say, but he's a Muslim from Southern Gombe. They are not Muslims. He was denied, they could not vote him for that. Till today, till tomorrow, anytime I meet him, I discuss that to him and I warn him about it. He's attached to the Fulani, not Islam. You practice your Islam, but don't attach yourself to the Fulani. Tomorrow, if they want to use you, that's when they bring religion. But when they get what they are getting from you, they will give you another name. which I don't want to mention. The second point I want to talk about is the empowerment. Thank God for the move Conaecda is making towards this cooperative society of a people. But there is something about it. You can only fight certain fights if you are economically empowered. And so many of us could not fight the fight we should fight because we are not economically empowered. And just as rightly said by so many here, when they discover that you are kind of a person, that if you are economically empowered, you fight them. They make sure that they deny you any opening for economic emancipation. In other words, they even stop you from getting a good job or contract that you can get money to empower yourself. But I want to say this pertaining that if we have very few of what to do, if they can still sponsor this cooperative society that Conaecda is talking about, was it last year when they about the secretary called me that okay, I should get inventors that will get grains from our market because we don't want our people to sell their grains to these people. So these grains that if they produce, they will sell money, we'll buy it and store it there. When time comes, we sell it. Instead for them like, but alas, I know we couldn't continue with it because there is no money to give the vendors to get the grains. Secretary, that was it. So if such people will be liaised with to assist, our people when they are economically empowered, they are afraid. Sorry, I had something that happens in Kaduna. I don't know whether it is true or not, but let me just say the one man, very wealthy man in Kaduna, that is caught in a relation reported into FCC because he jacked money, dollars in a tash house and put the air condition inside. And the cry is that his relations are suffering, but he could not give them the money. That's why he took him to EFCC. But what are you going to do the money, use the money for, if it is true? So please, those of us that they are privileged to get empowered economically should also assist. Then the last point I want to talk about is what we have been talking about so many times. When we say, okay, because I'm old, I don't want to die for my people. The problem we have is that all of us here have ideas to emancipate ourselves. But we have not turned it to ideology so that we can fight for it, stand for it. And that has been our problem. When we want to fight for something, there are two things there. Either we are afraid we will be killed, or we are afraid of position, losing position. Unless we try to fight these things, more especially to our youth. The thing baffled me so much. I say, why are those things were not coming when I was in the university so that I can champion certain cause? Why is my eyes not open to all these things now so that we can champion this cause until now? But it's not too late. It's late, but it's not too late. So I'm calling upon all of us to make this our ideas of emancipation to be ideology that we can stand for, fight for it, stand on it. Then that is what we emancipate ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's be straight.
Good evening, my brothers. I am by the name of Tikura Shogonagaza from FCT. Sir, I want to ask some certain questions like just 2 or 3 like this. On first one, there's something that we're experiencing in Kuje Area Council. That is where I come from. In Kuje Area Council now, especially in the world, this issue of kidnapping and killing now happens. It's like this thing now is going too much for our front. And what we're experiencing here now is that our people, or I would say the government, are not doing anything between that side. To do what? To go into and investigate what is the cause of this issue. The main thing that is happening now presently, and it has become something that is eye-witness. After three days, we found that you may see a helicopter flying up with a distance, and just as it's flying up, there's a certain kidnapping camp that they will put the helicopter will allow them offload Does this thing mean that what is happening now, the federal government is aware of what is happening? Because the helicopter that we never see, it is a uniform organization helicopter. Does that mean that even soldiers who are in Nigeria are part of this issue? Does that mean that Nigerian armies now are just now for these certain things? That is number one. Then, number two, you been talk about Fulani peoples on our Ogawa talk now. But then that the Fulani doesn't have a land in Nigeria. Now my question goes this way. That time that they migrate from where they lived before to Nigeria, was our leader not seeing them? They are not aware with what was happening. Was the plan made together with them that this thing is happening out here, and what will be the solution to the problem? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Conaecda Chairman.
Dr. Welcome to our wonderful paper. I want to analyze our strategic analysis on the president of the original characters I want to thank you for this wonderful paper. I want to throw this identity to the historian way. Because the first thing is who coined the word my little technical, my technical. Who is responsible for mine? What does that mean? Is it general possible that in this conference, all of us, and I can't know his life, everybody here from now to 5 minutes, you don't want anybody mind. God has anybody mind what? If my language is 10 in this conference, I'm not the language of the human. So what do you call that come to mind and we are using the ability and think about mind? Why don't we create the word? Because you see, in FCT, and you don't have to there is nowhere all after FCT. FCT is the map. Any other of that key is the key of the map. That originally is called Anubui. And that Anubui is implying that someone who is living under the map. So that you can accept them from then you now become Abuja. So when the next was out, they were not to the next is not allowed that you will be part of the history. Say yes, you will be part of the history. That's why that is but you can see that so there is an identity that is when you are going to be an. So that is how HCT now, they don't want to lose that. They will tell you that HCT to a free value or HCT and then don't do that. So my brothers, no place is called Abuja in general capital is a political capital of Nigeria and a political capital. Together in the city that is called Conaecda City. See, not only that, in our we are saying, when we are coming to the city, when we reach the area, you will know that if you come on if you come on not there's no other. So let us please, I only do that more in 3 years no more minor nationalities or ethnic group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let us give this chance to the student. Please,
my name is Sanjay. I want to first and foremost start by thanking the organizations of this noble association or group, and also thank the doctor who made the last presentation. But I want to remind all of us down in this hall that we have a responsibility that we almost fail, all of us, which is we must go back home and teach our children our own norms, our languages. Teach our children the major problem we are facing today of selling our motherland to the so-called foreigners to make money, drink alcoholic, and our futures at the time that it is not our time. So I felt if we start going back home to tell our people the danger of what it is, all of us here that are elites are failed in one way or the other by not telling ourselves the truth of what is happening today. You will meet an elder statesman. You know you come from the same zone. If you greet him, he says he's an educated person. Instead of answering you in your mother tongue, he will speak English to you also. Are we heading forward? We are discouraging outside, and you are saying you don't hear your language. What will the children you give back to do? Some of us here, our children cannot even make a sentence of one word in our own dialect. Where is our identity tomorrow? So I'm challenging each and every one of us to think back, go back, and do the needful.
Thank you very much. Come to the students. Who are the people with questions? Just one. I saw two hands.
Joseph Williams is my president of the University of Jos. One thing I learned as a young boy of my age is that whenever stuff like this, we only keep quiet and listen for wisdom. When it comes to situations like this, where our generation will be there to follow the prepare our voice. One thing I want to issue of education from where we like this is comprised of intellectuals and power. The also of power we must be able to influence. One thing about the other side of the country is it is also like influence someone's education, where you see one institution or one person sponsoring about private students and public institutions, giving with the knowledge needed to come back for something like this conversation. It is something they want to teach, they want to be and understand that they need to educate the young very much. I think it's something we are lack in this part of the region where we are more or less students or scholarship, of which we will have to get this knowledge for business and all that is needed for the show. Influence going down to our societies, the local level, before you be able to educate these people, you should be able to have a level of influence or electricity. So, if we want to see, I want to say that we should be part of some set record as individuals where we get back this strong down to the grassroots. We should be able to have some influence there in order to have the audiences needed. And then I want to observe the issue of pricing. Where you have your man, for example, answering the text like Iowa. And these are actually places that are also these are people that are expected to see, we expect to see them pushing things like this. In another way, I look at it like I from what is not supposed to be promoted answers. I have a brother who is going to school in Peru. When he because it's like an association where the association is called the IOM Nigeria. See how it's set out there. It's not students of Nigeria, but the IOM, the name is the IOM. So when we go to the everything so we'll be very good who consider about some of these skills so that we can get what we want my conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. You finish. Is there anyone else?
I think you are saying that I say your house are these among our leaders. Actually, I have problems with our leaders because we don't really care about us. So I don't know how we are going to move forward because you have to check your house before we take anybody's house. When we have issues like this, I will come say, and you are all as if we don't know what we are doing or we are not important. Except that thing affected directly. That's the action. But I noticed so if we have an attack, then we make our leaders like I don't know if they organize something to handle our resources because we take action for us. So anything that we do to change the environment will hold before we change other things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So that will be the last, the simple section. Then we'll respond.
Mr. President, I this morning, we have been enjoying this enlightenment, this awareness, this jubilation, thinking, and reorientation. I think that is the trademark of Conaecda. Since Conaecda was established about 10 years ago, this has been a full-time duty awakening us to the realities facing us, to enable us as far as I'm concerned, I think we only recognize after all of us are most of us are part of the social media culture now. This kind of reorganization and awakening is almost a full-time thing. In fact, most of those who are really concerned are interested. We are very long business, very detailed discussions of the kind of injustice that like the brother said, they want to hear every minority are suffering in Nigeria. We hear a lot of courtesy of the social media, but still we cannot produce the result that we should have. Just like one of the money was complaining when the prosecutor said, you cannot get the 10 or 20 years, and I was wondering why. Why can't we get the result that we need? Particularly now, the House has said, we have politicians. Most of the things we have is talk about it. Social media, we talk about it, you have pictures and audios and all this kind of videos. They act. So now it's no longer here that we see practically the extent of dehumanization, the extent of operation and suppression, all kinds of injustice. You see them doing it, so I can do it. But the concern is, why is it taking us so long to really act based on the information? Why? And I thought that I was with you. It is the issue of leadership, and we are leaders. All of us are leaders. All the things that we hear, we go back and go out and we our words. We don't know that enough. And we are being every day, and they told the time of actual cost. You are nowhere to be found. In fact, most of I know many of us are our brothers and sacrifice their life. It is more by instinct instead of you like the top. We shall not know what we are doing. I think that is right. So when we listen, each time I listen to things like this, what next? What do we do? That is why we didn't go for the action. And thank God for the has so much of these actions, the plans, which are waiting for us to actually start and implement. Please, let us do something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May God give us some of them are just suggestions. Some of them are just contributions that have been noted. But you see, some of us, the first thing, the issue of, do we believe we can change things? The first speaker was doubting what magic. You know, we are the problems of ourselves. Because we have states. What stops the governors from doing what they are supposed to do? Why should the governors wait just for the president to come and do things that they themselves are supposed to do? Why should the local government, chairman and council, not undertake economic emancipation of their people? You know, Nigerian government developed this attitude. They are no longer responsible for finding employment or creating employment opportunities for their people. They abandon their people and they tell them to go and self-employed. And the next day, you go and get a sewing machine and you start operating. And the next day, they increase the price of oil by 500%. So you cannot operate that sewing machine. And still, if you don't put pressure on people, on the leaders, they will not change. If you don't put pressure on people, if you don't organize and confront them, they will not change. They will just stay in their houses. Somebody asked me a question earlier this week. Then I came to tell something. It has been at home. Why is it? Because in the 1970s, 1980s, life as a university student was good. Today, if a university student gets 1 good square meal a day, he's happy. So, what happens? What happened in between? We struggled. We did a lot of school. We died. We were expelled, rusticated. Our people, our students struggled for all the things. Even this free tuition in the universities, we fought for it. It was not there before. We fought for it and got it. Before, IBB tried how many times to increase the price of fuel. Nigerian students led back. Account for what you have produced for less. So they destroyed the students. Cults took over. Cults took over. Religious organizations took over. It will be well with you. How will it be well if you don't struggle? You believe that God will come down and do it for you.
You expect a miracle to happen. And you don't walk, you don't struggle, and you expect things to change. If you don't make demands of the governors, they will do everything again. If you don't make demands of the local government council chair, they will do everything again for it. If you organize and demand, look, go to southwestern Nigeria. Any rascally chairman of the local government that messes up, they'll go after him, even physically. Let's come back home. When we complain that Hausa people are, when we come back to our state, we oppress each other. We come back to our local government, we oppress our other. So if you are not capable of self-criticism, self-analysis, and you see your own contradictions and agreement, I am telling you, you will remain where you are. In fact, it will only get worse. If you don't address the people who are in the state house of assembly, if you don't address the people who are in the national assembly, they will do nothing. They will take their bumper allowances and their posh cards and get away. So it is a two-way thing. If you don't hold them accountable, they will not be accountable. The second thing is the issue of margins. We spoke that our strategy, our own business people must stand up and invest. But when we go for investment, we want to invest today and win tomorrow. That's number one. Number two, there are some of our people, they will take the money from government and will never invest it in their own communities. They will take the money and give it to other ethnic groups who want to cheap for them, or they take it outside the country. They don't want their people to know that they have money. It happens. It's going on. So if you think you are going to depend on such people, they are not going anywhere. That is why we're talking about cooperatives. That is how we're talking about investing. A lot of us think that going to do farm work. I know a lot of students who do all sorts of things to educate themselves. There is a group of Hausa young people that have a large tailoring, and I discovered all of them are undergraduates in ABU. And they were running that and they were fantastic tailors. As individuals, they realized they were weak. So they put their resources together and were running a shop of about 12 machines. And they have rigid discipline. Really rigid discipline. No joke about it. So, if you don't start up, nobody will do it. Now, how do we stop the people that are agents? Have you attempted to ever promote people that have agents? Or you go and look for money that they will give you? If you don't have money, you will not go for them. But you know you're serving well, you know, it doesn't happen. So it's our choice. That is why we hold these discussions to make sure that we educate ourselves and we convince ourselves that we can change. Now, the issue of discrimination raised by our people from the FCC. We've had conversations.
problems of the city are very complex. There are people who don't want to hear the history that they are original inhabitants of this. They don't want to. They don't want you to be heard. But you have an organization. How are you going to build that organization? Some of our traditional rulers, they know what they're doing, and they are with their people. Use the podium. But you see, the strategy is the effort. You must build bridges and partnerships so that the people of Nigeria, but the people of their own region, know that it is their own common struggle. If they leave it to you alone, you'll be drowned. So it is important for you to know. Now, the issue of minority majority is a physical fact. 50 Conaecdas are not the same as 5,000 Ghanaians. Am I right? Yes. They are not equal. 5,000 Ghanaians are not the same as 500,000 Yorubas. They are not the same. That is why the United Nations knows that there are minorities. You only cease to be minorities if you come together and gain power. But for as long as you are protected as individual groups, you are minorities. Look at apartheid South Africa, the white minorities. But they have the political power and the political power. So, and you can reverse it. And finally, the issue of leadership. Conaecda is very concerned about the issue of building the capacity of our leaders to do so many things. It is important for you. That is why we are now going to be paying attention to community vulnerability assessment. What makes us weak? What makes us strong? What makes us powerful? What are our challenges? What contradictions are we dealing with? What are our strengths? What do we have? What can we use? How can we use it? Who are the people that we must promote? Must you send a foolish man to go and destroy you when you have a very capable woman that can liberate you? It's your choice, isn't it? Is that not your choice? It is. If you insist that you will have a local government chairman that has no experience, doesn't know what to do, unless what the government tells you or some other people tell you, it's your choice. But if you look for somebody that has experience, that has integrity, that has strength of character, that is willing to stand with you, why don't you go find such a person? It can be done. How many of you have heard of Barrister James Ngilari? How many of you have heard of him? He was governor of Adamawa State. Yep. From our interactions with James Ngilari, at one point he said Atiku Abubakar's political career. Atiku Abubakar did not know he was completely debilitating with his in Adamawa State. Until one day, this guy went and did a research, and they found that all the people of integrity were not part of the PDP. They were in other parties. The PDP was going to lose hands down. They had to go scrambling to get people of integrity back. have good people. Find them, encourage them, step up as leaders. But if, like we have happened in Kaduna, for every polling unit, they brought how many thousand naira to be buying polls. In certain places, they were buying polls for 5,000 naira. In certain places, 2,000. In certain places, 1,000. And they produce the people that they are now complaining already. So it's our choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. One of the students raised question about title, right? That's a very serious one. Waziri Mada, Tangaladima. Isn't it? Not only the titles. What about the? That's the way they are getting us. They've destroyed our languages, they've destroyed our culture, tradition, everything. Now, if you don't wear cover, you are not a complete. We have abandoned our. I'm telling you, I almost suffocated the day they put that around on me. Because they gave me one time to dangle at him or something. And I couldn't move. So I agree with you. I think there is something we can do as a group. Let our traditional rulers, and I will urge the secretariat, let me organize one meeting for all the traditional rulers of Conaecda, so that some of these things can be addressed. So meeting traditional Conaecda traditional rulers, so that some of these things maybe we will discuss with them. I know it's a very difficult one, but we will try to do it. Okay? It's all right. So on this note, I think we have come to the end of the discussion today. Except that let me give the secretariat to announce this.
Thank you very much. Please, what we'll be doing now is to close for today's program. Those who will be going home, get home early. But please, the National Council members are all expected to wait behind and waiting for your meeting. We also want you to interact with people from other states. So please, especially those who are within, don't just go back to your room and try and get to make some friends around from other states. We are all leaders here, presidents from other places. So get to know some other people around. I think that will be very helpful. Our food will soon arrive. One will come and let you know. Those who can wait for the food, I mean those who are going home, you can wait and chat around, brother.